back to Soul Focus TV. My name is Caitlyn and this is Snacks and Skates. Today we are going to be making an awesome hearty soup. I love to have the option of opening my fridge or even my freezer and having a good homemade soup there. Just to heat up whenever I need some comfort food and some packed nutrients and vitamins. So stick with us. So I have already prepared everything. I have chopped up our carrots, onions, and garlic in one bowl because this is going to be what we want to cook down first. So let's get that started and then I'll go over everything else. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of a big saucepan. And I'm going to put it on about a medium heat. Alright, so we're gonna let this cook up, heat up a little bit, and we will add in the onions, carrots, and garlic first. Let's toss this all in. Let me grab a spoon. So we'll stir this around first. So what I did is I just roughly chopped the vegetables first and got everything prepared. We're going to add everything in kind of different like points of the cooking because we want to make sure we cook down the onions, garlic, and carrots first, and then we can add in everything else. So I have my chopped up potatoes here, and then I have the kale and yellow squash that we're gonna add in last because that's gonna be the quickest cooking. All right. So I'm gonna let this sit and let it kind of cook down a little bit, get closer to a translucent color, and then we'll check back. Okay, so the onions are looking translucent. The carrots have a little bit of color to them now, so I'm going to start adding in more of our ingredients. So I'm pretty much going to add in everything else but the kale and the squash. Those we're gonna add in last minute. So right now we want to add in the vegetable stock or whatever kind of stock that you're using. I'm going to turn it down to a low heat. This would also be awesome with homemade vegetable stock. What I suggest is when you're cutting up vegetables, save everything that you peel off or chop off of, like vegetables that you would put into your stock. Save it in a little container and put it in your freezer. So you put it in your freezer, and then once you get like a big quantity of vegetables, you can just boil that down with water and then strain it out and you'll have your own stock. Okay, so we added in the stock. We're also going to add in the washed, and you want to like pick through your lentils as well, and you really want to make sure that you're washing them properly and looking to make sure that there's no like little foreign objects. So I'm going to dump in the lentils, potatoes, Just be careful of the splash. And 2 cans of tomatoes. I drained out some of the liquid, but not all of the liquid from the can. Okay. And then we want to add in our seasonings. So this is oregano, thyme, basil, paprika, chili powder, and then we'll stir that in. And do some salt. If you are not making your own stock, I suggest definitely getting a low sodium stock and preferably organic, because you can always add in salt, but you can't take it out. And you know, with those kinds of products, they tend to pack a lot of sodium in it, so you want to have better control over it. Some black pepper, and we're gonna stir this up. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna keep it on this low heat, and we're gonna let it simmer for about a half an hour. All right, so it's actually been about an hour. I let it simmer a little bit longer than I first intended, but I think it needed that extra time. Those heavy vegetables, I cut them kind of big, so it's better to give it more time to simmer. So it's been simmering, like I said, for about an hour now. I want to add in the kale and the yellow squash. You can use zucchini or anything similar to that instead. And I went through and I picked out all of the big ribs of the kale already, so that's all cleaned up. I'm gonna add that in. At this point, you want to be very careful adding anything in because it's so hot. You don't want it to splash up at you. So once we add all of this in, we're gonna just let it simmer for another 10 minutes or so for this all to heat up. I'm gonna just stir this in. And every time, whenever I'm making soup, anytime that I add a new ingredient in, I like to salt and pepper it again. So, add a little bit more salt. And some more pepper. You can also use spinach. If you are using spinach as your greens in this soup, you might want to wait a little bit longer to add them in because kale takes a little bit more time to really cook down than spinach would. But whatever you like. All right. So we're gonna let this sit for another 10 minutes and we'll go from there. Okay, so the 10 minutes are up. I'm going to squeeze some fresh lemon in and then serve it up. Here's the final product. I hope you enjoy. We'll see you next week.